The metal screamed before it twisted. Glass exploded into 1,000 glittering pieces that caught the afternoon sunlight like cruel diamonds. Then came the sickening crunch of metal folding in on itself, followed by an eerie silence that felt louder than the crash itself. 7-year-old Brianna Johnson opened her eyes to a world turned sideways. Her head throbbed and something wet trickled down her forehead. She touched it with trembling fingers and saw red. The sight of her own blood should have scared her more, but it was nothing compared to what she saw when she turned her head. "Mama?" Her voice came out small and broken. Tamara Johnson sat motionless in the driver's seat, her head slumped forward against the deployed airbag. Blood ran from a gash on her temple, staining her blue work uniform dark. Her breathing was shallow and ragged, each breath a wet, struggling sound that made Brianna's chest tighten with fear. "Mama, please wake up." Brianna reached forward, her small hand shaking as she touched her mother's shoulder. "Mama, I'm scared." Tamara didn't respond. Her eyes remained closed, her body limp. The accident had happened so fast. One moment they were driving home from Brianna's school, Tamara singing along to the radio after a long shift at the diner where she worked. The next moment, a truck had run a red light, slamming into the passenger side of their old sedan with devastating force. Their car had spun twice before crashing into a ditch on the side of the rural highway. Brianna looked around, her heart pounding so hard it hurt. They were on a stretch of road with nothing but fields on either side. No houses. No stores. Just endless rows of corn swaying in the breeze as if nothing terrible had happened. The truck that hit them was nowhere to be seen. The driver had fled. "Help!" Brianna screamed, her voice breaking. "Somebody help us." But there was no one to hear. The road stretched empty in both directions. Brianna fumbled with her seatbelt, her small fingers struggling with the release button. After several attempts, it clicked open. She pushed her door, but it was jammed shut. Panic rose in her throat like bile. She pushed harder, throwing her small body against it. On the third try, it groaned open just enough for her to squeeze through. The moment her feet hit the ground, her legs nearly gave out. Pain shot through her ankle and she realized it was twisted or sprained. But that didn't matter. Nothing mattered except getting help for Mama. She limped to the driver's side, tears streaming down her face. The door was crumpled, the metal bent at odd angles. Through the broken window, she could see her mother's chest still rising and falling, but each breath seemed weaker than the last. "I'm going to get help, Mama," Brianna whispered, her voice fierce despite her tears. "I promise. You're going to be okay." She heard a car approaching and her heart leaped with hope. A silver SUV came over the hill, and Brianna stumbled into the middle of the road, waving her arms frantically. "Please stop. Please. My mama's hurt." The SUV slowed slightly, and for a moment, Brianna thought her prayers had been answered. But then it swerved around her and sped up, the driver's eyes fixed straight ahead as if she didn't exist. The vehicle disappeared down the road, leaving only dust and despair. "No. Please." Brianna screamed after it, her voice cracking. "Please come back." But the SUV was gone. She stood in the middle of the road, her small body shaking with sobs. How could someone just drive away? How could they see a child covered in blood, begging for help, and just leave? Another car appeared, this one a red pickup truck. Brianna positioned herself in the road again, jumping up and down despite the pain in her ankle. "Help. Please help. There's been an accident." The truck slowed down, and a man with a weathered face looked at her through the window. His eyes met hers for just a second. Brianna saw something flicker across his face, something that looked like pity or maybe guilt, but then he pressed on the gas and drove around her. "No. Please." Brianna chased after the truck for a few steps before her injured ankle gave out and she fell to her knees on the rough asphalt. Gravel bit into her palms as she caught herself. Why won't anyone help us? She dragged herself back to her feet and limped back to the car. Her mother's breathing seemed even more labored now, and fresh blood was seeping from the wound on her head. "Mama, please hold on," Brianna whispered, reaching through the broken window to touch her mother's hand. It was cold. Too cold. "I'm going to find help. I promise." Over the next 20 minutes, 5 more cars passed. 5 more people who saw a little girl desperately waving them down and chose to keep driving. Some slowed down, their curiosity pulling them forward, but fear or indifference or the inconvenience of getting involved pushed them past. One woman even had the audacity to take out her phone, and Brianna thought she was calling for help, but instead, she just took a picture before driving away. The sun was starting to sink lower in the sky, painting everything in shades of orange and gold that felt wrong. How could the world be so beautiful when everything was falling apart? Brianna looked at her mother, then at the empty road, then back at her mother. A choice crystallized in her mind, as clear and sharp as the broken glass scattered around the car. She couldn't wait here anymore. No one was going to stop. If she wanted to save her mama, she would have to go find help herself. "I have to leave you for a little while, mama," she said, squeezing her mother's cold hand. "But I'm coming back. I promise I'm coming back with help." She kissed her mother's hand, tasting salt and blood, then turned and started walking down the road. Each step sent pain shooting up from her twisted ankle, but she pushed forward. Her mother had always taught her to be strong, to never give up no matter how hard things got. They'd survived her father leaving when she was 3. They'd survived being poor, living in a tiny apartment with no heat in the winter. They'd survived tomorrow working 3 jobs just to put food on the table. They would survive this too. The road stretched out before her, endless and indifferent. Brianna wiped the blood from her forehead with the sleeve of her green school dress and kept walking. Her shadow grew longer as the sun sank lower. Her legs trembled with exhaustion and pain. Her mouth was dry, her head pounded, and every part of her body screamed at her to stop, to rest, to give up. But Brianna Johnson didn't know how to give up. Her mama had never quit on her, and she wouldn't quit on her mama. So she walked, and prayed that somewhere ahead, someone would finally care enough to help. Brianna had been walking for what felt like hours, though in reality, it had only been 45 minutes. To a 7-year-old with an injured ankle, every minute stretched into an eternity. The sun was sinking toward the horizon now, and the temperature was dropping. Her green school dress, torn and stained with blood, offered little protection against the evening chill. Her feet dragged with each step. The twisted ankle had swollen inside her scuffed white sneaker, and every time her foot hit the ground, pain radiated up her leg. But she didn't stop. She couldn't stop. Somewhere behind her, Mama was still in that crashed car, getting weaker with every passing moment. The road curved ahead, and Brianna's heart lifted slightly when she saw buildings in the distance. Civilization. People. Help. She pushed herself faster, ignoring the protests of her exhausted body. The first building was a gas station, its bright lights just flickering on as dusk approached. 3 cars sat at the pumps, and Brianna could see people moving around inside the convenience store. Relief flooded through her so powerfully that her knees almost buckled. She stumbled across the parking lot, nearly falling as her injured ankle gave out. A woman in a business suit was pumping gas into a sleek black sedan. "Please," Brianna gasped, reaching out toward the woman. "Please help me. My mama's hurt real bad. There was an accident and she's bleeding and I need someone to call for help." The woman looked at her, and Brianna saw her eyes widen as she took in the blood, the torn dress, the dirt and tears. For a moment, Brianna thought she would help. But then the woman's expression shifted to something cold and suspicious. "Where are your parents?" the woman asked, stepping back and glancing around nervously. "My mama's in the car. On the road back there. She's hurt. Please, you have to help." "This is some kind of scam," the woman muttered, pulling the pump from her car with jerky movements. "I've heard about this. People use kids to make you stop, then they rob you." "No, it's not. Please, I'm telling the truth. My mama's dying." But the woman was already getting back into her car, locking the doors with a decisive click. She started the engine and drove away without looking back, leaving Brianna standing alone in the parking lot, her arms still outstretched in a plea that went unanswered. Brianna's vision blurred with fresh tears, but she blinked them away. She couldn't waste time crying. She turned toward the store, limping through the glass doors that chimed cheerfully as they opened. The fluorescent lights inside were harsh and bright, making her squint. A few customers browsed the aisles, and a young man with acne and a bored expression stood behind the counter, scrolling through his phone. "Please," Brianna called out, her voice echoing in the store. "I need help. My mama's hurt. Can someone please call 911? A couple near the drink coolers looked up. The man said something to the woman, and they both quickly grabbed their sodas and moved toward the checkout, keeping their eyes averted from Brianna. "Please?" Brianna limped toward them. "Please, I just need someone to call for help." The couple rushed past her, practically running out of the store. Brianna turned to the clerk. "Please, sir. Can you call 911? My mama was in a car accident and she's hurt real bad. She's on Highway 47 about 2 miles back. She needs an ambulance." The clerk looked up from his phone, his eyes narrowing as he took in her appearance. "You can't be in here like that. You're getting blood on the floor." Brianna looked down and saw that she was indeed leaving small drops of blood on the white linoleum. "I'm sorry, but my mama needs help. Can you please just call 911? Look, kid, I don't know what kind of story you're trying to sell, but you need to leave before I call the cops. Call the cops. Please. They can help my mama. The clerk made a shooing motion with his hand. Get out. I'm serious. Go pull your scam somewhere else. It's not a scam. Brianna's voice rose, desperation making it shrill. My mama's dying. Why won't anyone believe me? Why won't anyone help? An older man who had been looking at the candy bars walked over. He had kind eyes and gray hair, and for a moment, hope flickered in Brianna's chest. Are you really hurt, sweetheart? He asked gently. Yes. My mama too. She's hurt worse than me. We were in a car accident and everyone keeps driving past and no one will help and I don't know what to do. The words tumbled out of Brianna in a desperate rush. The old man reached into his pocket, and Brianna thought he was getting his phone to call for help. Instead, he pulled out a $5 bill and held it out to her. Here. Get yourself cleaned up and something to eat. Brianna stared at the money, not understanding. I don't need money. I need help for my mama. Take it, honey. He pressed it into her hand. And maybe find a shelter or something. It's going to be cold tonight. He thought she was homeless. He thought this was all some kind of lie to get money. Brianna wanted to scream to make him understand, but he was already walking away, clearly pleased with himself for his small act of charity. The $5 bill felt like an insult in her hand. She dropped it on the floor and stumbled back out into the parking lot. The sky was darker now, streaked with purple and deep blue. Stars were beginning to appear, tiny pinpricks of light that seemed impossibly far away. Brianna stood in the middle of the parking lot, her small body shaking with exhaustion and despair. What was she supposed to do? How could she save Mama when no one would listen? When everyone thought she was lying or trying to trick them? She thought about her mother's words, spoken so many times over the years. Baby, the world isn't always kind. But that doesn't mean you stop trying. You hear me? You never stop trying. Brianna wiped her eyes with the back of her hand, smearing blood and tears across her cheek. She took a deep breath that hurt her chest and looked around. Across the street from the gas station she could see more buildings. More people. More chances. She started walking again. The next place was a small restaurant with a neon sign that read Betty's Diner. Through the windows, Brianna could see families eating dinner, laughing and talking. The sight made her throat tight with longing. Just this morning she and Mama had been happy like that, singing in the car. She pushed through the door and the smell of burgers and fries hit her, making her stomach clench. She hadn't eaten since lunch at school hours ago. Help, she said, her voice barely above a whisper now. Her throat was raw from crying and screaming. Please help. A waitress with red hair and tired eyes looked up from the table she was cleaning. Her expression shifted from surprise to suspicion in an instant. You can't be in here, honey? Where are your folks? My mama's hurt. Car accident. Highway 47. Please call 911. The waitress looked at the manager, a heavy-set man with sweat stains under his arms. He walked over, his face set in hard lines. You need to leave. Right now. We don't want any trouble. I'm not trouble. I just need help. I said leave. His voice was loud enough that other diners turned to look. I'm not falling for this. I've seen this scam before. You want me to call the cops? Yes, call them. Please. But the manager was already grabbing her by the arm, his grip tight and painful. He steered her toward the door and pushed her outside. The door swung shut behind her, and through the glass she could see him turning back to his customers with an apologetic smile, saying something that made them nod understandingly. Brianna sank down on the sidewalk, her back against the brick wall of the diner. Her whole body hurt. Her head throbbed where she'd hit it in the crash. Her ankle was on fire. Her heart felt like it was breaking into pieces. God, she whispered, looking up at the darkening sky. Please. I know Mama says you're always listening. Please listen now. Please send someone who will help. She sat there for several minutes watching people walk past on the sidewalk. Some glanced at her and quickly looked away. Others crossed to the other side of the street to avoid passing too close. One woman paused, her hand going to her purse, but her companion pulled her along with a sharp word. Brianna watched them all with eyes that felt too old for her 7 years. She was learning something tonight that she wished she didn't have to learn. She was learning that most people, when faced with someone else's pain, would choose to look away, would choose to protect themselves from the inconvenience of caring. But Mama had also taught her that most isn't the same as all. Somewhere there had to be someone who would help. There had to be. She pulled herself back to her feet, using the wall for support. Her legs shook but they held. Down the street she could see more lights, more buildings, more people, more chances. So she started walking again. One painful step after another, moving through a world that seemed determined to ignore her existence. But Brianna Johnson had made a promise to her mama, and she wasn't the kind of person who broke promises. She would keep walking until she found someone who cared. No matter how long it took, no matter how much it hurt, she would never stop trying. The police station appeared like a beacon in the growing darkness. It was a squat brick building with bright lights illuminating the entrance and an American flag fluttering in the evening breeze. Brianna had walked another mile past the diner, past more stores and more people who averted their eyes, until she finally saw the distinctive blue and white sign. Her relief was so profound that she almost collapsed right there on the sidewalk. But she forced herself to keep moving. Just a little further. Just up those concrete steps. Just through those glass doors. Each step felt like climbing a mountain. Her injured ankle had gone beyond pain into a numb, throbbing ache. Blood had dried in a crust on her forehead and down the side of her face. Her green dress was torn and filthy, and she knew she must look frightening. But this was a police station. Police officers help people. That's what they did. They had to help her. She pushed through the heavy glass door, and the sudden warmth of the building made her realize just how cold she'd become. Her teeth started chattering. The lobby was quiet, with fluorescent lights humming overhead and tile floors that squeaked under her sneakers. A long counter stood at the far end, and behind it sat a woman in a police uniform. She had dark brown skin, her hair pulled back in a neat bun, and kind eyes that widened as she caught sight of Brianna. "Oh my God," the officer said, standing up quickly. "Honey, what happened to you?" Brianna opened her mouth to speak, but suddenly, all the fear and exhaustion and desperation of the last few hours crashed over her like a wave. Her knees buckled, and she would have fallen if the officer hadn't rushed around the counter and caught her. "I've got you, sweetheart. I've got you." The officer's voice was gentle but firm as she eased Brianna into a plastic chair. "My name is Officer Patricia Green. You're safe now. Can you tell me what happened?" "My mama," Brianna gasped out between sobs. "There was an accident. Car crash. Highway 47. She's hurt. She's hurt real bad and I've been trying to get help but no one would stop and no one would believe me and I don't know if she's still—" She couldn't finish the sentence. Couldn't say the word that had been terrifying her for the last 2 hours. Officer Green's expression shifted immediately from concern to professional urgency. She grabbed the radio from her belt. "Dispatch, this is Green. I need an ambulance and patrol units sent to Highway 47 immediately. Report of a car accident with injuries. Single vehicle, driver trapped and unresponsive." "Copy? Copy that, Green. Units en route." "How long ago was the accident, honey?" Officer Green asked, crouching down to be at Brianna's eye level. "I don't know. A long time. I walked so far." Brianna's words were coming out in hiccups between sobs. "It was still light when it happened. The truck hit us and the driver left and Mama wouldn't wake up and I tried to get people to help but they all drove away and I walked and everyone thought I was lying." "Shoo, it's okay. You're doing so good. You're so brave." Officer Green pulled a first aid kit from behind the counter. "Let me look at your head while we wait for news, okay?" As Officer Green gently cleaned the blood from Brianna's face and examined her injuries, other officers filtered into the lobby, drawn by the commotion. They stood at a respectful distance, their faces grave as they learned what had happened. "She walked at least 3 miles, one officer muttered to another. "On a twisted ankle. At 7 years old. And nobody stopped to help?" "Apparently not." Officer Green was wrapping Brianna's ankle when another man entered the station. He wasn't in uniform. Instead, he wore an expensive-looking blue suit and carried a leather briefcase. He was Asian, probably in his mid-40s, with silver threading through his black hair and an air of quiet authority. He had been talking to the desk sergeant about posting bail for one of his employees who'd been arrested for a misdemeanor. But he stopped mid-sentence as he caught sight of Brianna and heard Officer Green's gentle questions. "You said your name is Brianna?" Officer Green was asking. "And your mama's name is Tamara Johnson?" "Yes, ma'am. Tamara Marie Johnson. She works at the diner on 5th Street, and at the grocery store on weekends and she cleans offices at night sometimes. She works real hard to take care of me." The man in the blue suit moved closer, his expression intent as he listened. "Do you have any other family, Brianna? Someone we can call?" Brianna shook her head. "It's just us. My daddy left when I was little. Mama's parents died before I was born. There's nobody else." Officer Green's radio crackled. "Green, this is Unit 7. We found the vehicle. Single occupant, female, mid-30s, unconscious but alive. Significant head trauma and possible internal injuries. Medevac helicopter is being dispatched. We're transporting to Mercy General. Relief flooded through Brianna so intensely that she started crying harder. She's alive? Mama's alive? She's alive, sweetheart. They're taking her to the hospital right now. I need to go to her. I need to be with her. We'll get you there, Officer Green promised. But let me finish bandaging your ankle first, okay? The man in the suit stepped forward. Officer Green, I apologize for interrupting. My name is Vincent Park. I couldn't help but overhear. This child walked 3 miles alone to find help for her mother. Officer Green nodded. According to her account, yes. After multiple people refused to stop or call for assistance. Vincent looked at Brianna, and something shifted in his expression. Something soft and painful. What's your name, brave girl? Brianna Johnson, sir. Brianna, I'm very sorry about your mother. But what you did tonight took remarkable courage. Brianna didn't feel courageous. She felt small and scared and desperate to see her mama. But something about this man's voice was calming. Kind. Are you a police officer? She asked. No, I'm a businessman. I own several companies in the city. He paused, seeming to weigh his words. I lost my own daughter when she was about your age. A car accident like your mother's. But I wasn't there to help her. No one was. Brianna saw pain flicker across his face, deep and old. I'm sorry, she whispered. That must hurt a lot. It does. Every day. Vincent crouched down, bringing himself to her level. But you were there for your mother. You didn't give up. You saved her life by getting help. Is Mama going to be okay? Vincent glanced at Officer Green, who gave a slight shake of her head, indicating she didn't know. The doctors will do everything they can, Vincent said carefully. Is there anything you need? Anything I can do to help? I just need to see her. I need to be with her. Then that's where you should be. Vincent stood and addressed Officer Green. I have my car outside. If you're taking her to Mercy General, I'd like to follow. In case there's anything the family needs. Officer Green studied him for a moment, clearly trying to assess his intentions. That's very kind, Mr. Park, but we can handle it. I'm sure you can. But humor me, please. I'd like to make sure this young lady and her mother have everything they need. No strings attached, no expectations. Just someone making sure they're taken care of. Something in his tone must have convinced Officer Green, because she nodded slowly. All right. I'll let you follow us to the hospital. But I'll need your contact information. Of course. Vincent pulled a business card from his wallet and handed it to her. Everything you need is on there. Officer Green finished wrapping Brianna's ankle, then gently lifted her up. Come on, sweetheart. Let's go see your mama. As they walked out to the patrol car, Brianna looked back at Vincent Park. He was following at a respectful distance, his expensive car pulling in behind the patrol vehicle. She didn't understand why a stranger would want to help them. Most people had shown her tonight that strangers didn't help. They looked away. They made excuses. They protected themselves first. But something in Vincent's eyes when he talked about his daughter told Brianna that he understood pain. That he understood what it meant to need help and not receive it. Maybe that's why he wanted to give it now. The patrol car pulled out of the police station parking lot, lights flashing but no siren. Officer Green drove quickly but carefully, explaining that they needed to get to the hospital fast but didn't want to scare Brianna more than she already was. In the back seat, Brianna pressed her face against the window and watched the city lights blur past. Somewhere ahead of them, in an ambulance or maybe already at the hospital, Mama was fighting to stay alive. And for the first time in hours, Brianna wasn't alone in that fight anymore. Help had finally come. Mercy General Hospital loomed against the night sky, its windows glowing with artificial light. The emergency entrance was a controlled chaos of ambulances, gurneys and medical staff moving with practiced efficiency. Officer Green pulled into the drop-off zone, and Brianna pressed her face against the window, searching desperately for any sign of her mother. She's already inside, Officer Green said gently, seeming to read Brianna's thoughts. They would have rushed her straight to the trauma unit when she arrived. Vincent Park's sleek silver car pulled in behind them. He emerged quickly, buttoning his suit jacket out of habit before seeming to realize how absurd formality was in this moment. He waited as Officer Green helped Brianna out of the patrol car, the child's injured ankle making her movements slow and painful. The automatic doors whooshed open, and they entered a world of bright lights, antiseptic smells, and urgent voices. The emergency room waiting area was crowded with people in various states of distress. A toddler wailed in his mother's arms. An elderly man held a bloody cloth to his head. 2 teenagers with matching sports uniforms sat with ice packs pressed to swollen joints. Officer Green approached the registration desk, where a tired-looking woman with glasses perched on her nose looked up from her computer screen. "I'm Officer Green, 2nd Precinct. I'm here with the daughter of Tamara Johnson, who was brought in by medevac about 20 minutes ago. Car accident victim." The receptionist typed rapidly, her eyes scanning the screen. "Johnson Tamara. Yes, she's in Trauma Bay 3. They're still assessing her injuries. Let me call up to see if the doctor can come speak with you." As they waited, Vincent guided Brianna to a cluster of plastic chairs near the windows. She sat down, her small body rigid with tension, her eyes fixed on the doors that led deeper into the hospital where her mother was somewhere beyond her reach. "Would you like some water?" Vincent asked. "Or something to eat?" Brianna shook her head. The thought of food made her stomach turn. A doctor emerged through the double doors about 10 minutes later. He was young, with dark circles under his eyes and blood stains on his scrubs. His name tag read Dr. Jonathan Reed. "I'm looking for family of Tamara Johnson," he called out. Brianna jumped up, nearly falling when her injured ankle protested. "That's my mama. I'm her daughter." Dr. Reed crouched down to speak with her directly, a gesture Brianna appreciated even through her fear. "Hi there. I'm Dr. Reed. I've been taking care of your mom since she arrived. She's very sick right now, but we're doing everything we can to help her. Can I see her?" "Not just yet. We need to do some tests first to see how badly she's hurt. She has a serious head injury and we think some of her ribs might be broken. There might be some internal bleeding too. Do you understand what that means?" Brianna nodded, tears streaming down her face. "It means she's hurt inside where we can't see." "That's right. We're very good at fixing those kinds of injuries, but it takes time. Now, I need to ask you some important questions. Do you know if your mom has any allergies to medicines? Or any health problems we should know about?" "She doesn't like penicillin. It makes her sick. And she has asthma sometimes, but it's not bad. She has an inhaler." Dr. Reed nodded, making notes on his tablet. "That's very helpful, thank you. Is there anyone we can call? Other family members?" "It's just us," Brianna whispered. "It's always been just us." The doctor's expression softened with sympathy. He looked up at Officer Green. "Someone should stay with her. This is going to be a long night." "I'll stay," Officer Green said immediately. "As will I," Vincent added. Dr. Reed studied Vincent with the same assessing look Officer Green had given him earlier. "And you are?" "A concerned citizen who wants to make sure this family has what they need." "I'm not trying to intrude, Doctor. But I'd like to help if I can." Dr. Reed nodded slowly. "All right. I need to get back to my patient, but someone will come update you as soon as we know more. It might be a while." He looked at Brianna again. "Your mom is strong and she's fighting hard. The best thing you can do for her right now is take care of yourself, okay?" That's what she'd want. After the doctor left, the 3 of them settled into the uncomfortable waiting room chairs. Officer Green made phone calls, filing reports and ensuring Brianna's situation was properly documented with child services. Vincent sat quietly nearby, occasionally checking his phone but mostly just maintaining a steady, calm presence. An hour passed. Then another. Brianna dozed fitfully, jerking awake every few minutes in panic before remembering where she was. Officer Green brought her juice and crackers from a vending machine. Vincent disappeared at one point and returned with a soft blanket he'd somehow convinced a nurse to provide. It was nearly midnight when Dr. Reed returned, this time accompanied by an older woman in surgical scrubs. She had gray hair and sharp eyes that seemed to miss nothing. "I'm Dr. Susan Martinez, Chief of Trauma Surgery," she introduced herself. "I've been examining Tamara's scans and consulting with Dr. Reed." Brianna stood up, her heart pounding so hard she felt dizzy. "Is Mama going to be okay?" Dr. Martinez sat down in the chair across from Brianna, bringing herself to the child's level. "Your mother is very badly hurt. She has a skull fracture, which means a bone in her head is cracked. She has 4 broken ribs. And most seriously, she has internal bleeding in her abdomen. We need to operate immediately to stop the bleeding." "An operation means surgery?" Brianna asked, her voice small. "Yes. We'll put her to sleep with medicine so she doesn't feel anything, then we'll fix the bleeding inside. The surgery will take several hours. And then she'll be better?" Dr. Martinez hesitated, and that hesitation made Brianna's blood run cold. "The surgery will help her. But she's very sick. Even after we fix the bleeding, she'll need to stay in the hospital for a long time while she heals. She might need more surgeries. And there's a chance. She paused, choosing her words carefully. There's a chance that her injuries are too severe, even with surgery. You mean she might die? Brianna's voice broke on the last word. I mean that we're going to do absolutely everything in our power to save her life. But I need you to understand that it's serious. This isn't going to be easy or quick. Officer Green put a hand on Brianna's shoulder. Vincent leaned forward, his expression intent. What does she need? Vincent asked. The mother. What does she need to have the best possible chance? Dr. Martinez looked at him. The best surgical team, the best post-operative care, extended ICU monitoring. All things we can provide here at Mercy General. We're a Trauma 1 center. And the cost? The question hung in the air. Dr. Martinez's expression shifted slightly, something knowing and sad flickering across her features. The surgery alone will be around $80,000. That's not including the ICU stay, medications, additional procedures she might need. We're looking at easily $250,000. Maybe more. The number was so huge that Brianna couldn't even comprehend it. She looked at Officer Green with panic in her eyes. We don't have that much money. Mama works all the time, but we barely have enough for rent and food. What are we going to do? The hospital has to treat her regardless, Officer Green assured her. They can't refuse to operate just because you can't pay. That's true, Dr. Martinez confirmed. We will perform the surgery and provide the care she needs. The financial situation can be sorted out later. But Vincent was already shaking his head. No. No sorting it out later, no medical debt hanging over this family, no collections agencies calling while a child is trying to help her mother recover. I'll cover it. All of it. Everyone stared at him. Mr. Park, Dr. Martinez said carefully, do you understand what you're offering? This could be $250,000. Possibly more. I understand. I'll have my attorney draw up the paperwork tomorrow, but for now you have my word and my commitment. Whatever Tamara Johnson needs, whatever this hospital requires, I'll pay for it. Every cent. He looked at Brianna. Your mother fought to stay alive long enough for you to get help. You fought to find that help. The least I can do is make sure money doesn't become another battle you have to fight. Brianna felt like her brain couldn't process what was happening. This man, this stranger, was offering to pay for her mother's life. Why? She whispered. Why would you do that for us? Vincent's eyes were distant, seeing something or someone long gone. Because nobody did it for my daughter. Because I have the means to help and you have the need. Because sometimes in life we get chances to turn pain into purpose. This is mine. But, that's so much money. I have so much money. More than one person could ever need. Let me use it to do something that matters. He turned back to Dr. Martinez. Do whatever needs to be done. Spare no expense. Give her the best of everything. Dr. Martinez nodded slowly, something like respect in her eyes. All right. I'll have the financial office send you the necessary paperwork. In the meantime, we need to prep Tamara for surgery immediately. Can I see her first? Brianna asked desperately. Please? Just for a minute? Dr. Martinez looked at Dr. Reed, who nodded. Just for a minute? She's unconscious, so she won't be able to hear you. But if it helps you, then yes. They led Brianna through the double doors, down a corridor that smelled of disinfectant and fear. Officer Green and Vincent waited behind, understanding that this moment was private. Trauma Bay 3 was a small room crowded with machines and monitors, all of them beeping and flashing with numbers Brianna didn't understand. And in the middle of it all, dwarfed by the equipment surrounding her, was Mama. She looked so small, so fragile. Her head was wrapped in white bandages, already spotted with blood. Tubes ran from her arms and nose. Her beautiful brown skin was ashen, her lips colorless. Oh Mama, Brianna whispered, moving to the side of the bed. She took her mother's hand, careful of the 4-line. The hand was warmer than it had been in the car, and Brianna took that as a good sign. I found help, Mama. Just like I promised. And there's this nice man, Mr. Park, and he's going to make sure you get all the medicine you need. So you have to fight, okay? You have to keep fighting the way you taught me to fight. We're going to get through this together. A nurse touched Brianna's shoulder gently. We need to take her now, sweetie. Brianna leaned over and kissed her mother's cheek. I love you, Mama. Don't leave me. Please don't leave me. She let them lead her back out into the hallway, back through the doors to where Officer Green and Vincent waited. She felt numb, hollowed out, as if all her fear and pain had been scooped out and replaced with nothing. The surgery will take at least 4 hours, Dr. Martinez said. Probably longer. We'll update you as we go. Try to get some rest. Rest. The suggestion seemed absurd. But as the adrenaline that had kept Brianna moving for the last few hours finally drained away, exhaustion crashed over her like a wave. Her legs wobbled and Vincent caught her before she could fall. Easy there. When did you last sleep? Last night, Brianna mumbled. Before school. And you've been through a car crash, walked 3 miles on an injured ankle and spent hours in a hospital. Your body needs rest. Officer Green had been on her phone, her expression troubled. She hung up and crouched in front of Brianna. Sweetheart, I called Child Protective Services like I'm required to do. Since you don't have any family, they want to send someone to pick you up and take you to a temporary foster home for tonight. No. Brianna's exhaustion vanished, replaced by panic. No, I can't leave. I need to be here when Mama wakes up. I promised her I wouldn't leave her. Brianna, you need somewhere safe to sleep. I'll sleep here. I'll sleep in these chairs. Please don't make me leave. Officer Green looked helplessly at Vincent, who was already pulling out his phone. Give me a moment. I might have a solution. He walked a few steps away, speaking in low tones to someone on the other end. When he returned, his expression was determined. I just spoke with my attorney. We can file for emergency temporary guardianship, with Officer Green as a witness to the circumstances. It would allow Brianna to stay with me in my home until her mother recovers. It's unorthodox, but given the unique situation and the fact that I'm already financially supporting the family's medical care, my attorney believes a judge would approve it first thing in the morning. Mr. Park, that's extraordinarily generous, but I can't ask you to, Officer Green began. You're not asking. I'm offering. This child has been through enough trauma. Forcing her away from her mother and into a system that will treat her as a case number rather than a person will only add to that trauma. Officer Green studied him for a long moment. I'll need to run a background check. And CPS will have to approve. Of course. Do whatever you need to do. My record is clean and my home is more than adequate. I have staff who can help care for her. Most importantly, I can bring her back here to the hospital every day to be with her mother. Brianna looked between the two adults, hardly daring to hope. You mean I can stay? If Officer Green and the system approve, yes. You'll stay with me and every day we'll come here so you can be with your mother while she recovers. Vincent knelt down so he was at her eye level. I'm not trying to replace your mother, Brianna. I'm not trying to be your father or take you away from your family. I'm just trying to help until your real family is back on their feet. Okay. Brianna threw her arms around his neck, startling him. Thank you, she sobbed into his shoulder. Thank you so much. Vincent's arms came up slowly, carefully to hold her. And as Officer Green stepped away to make the necessary calls, as the hospital hummed with life and death around them, as somewhere beyond the surgical doors Tamara Johnson fought for her life, Vincent Park held a crying child and felt something long dormant stir in his chest. Purpose. Redemption. Hope. A chance to turn his wealth into something that mattered. A chance to save someone when he hadn't been able to save his own daughter. A chance to help a little girl who had refused to give up. Outside the hospital windows, the night was at its darkest. But morning would come. And with it, the possibility of new beginnings. The surgical waiting room on the 4th floor was quieter than the emergency room. The lights were dimmed for the late hour and most of the chairs sat empty. A television mounted in the corner played the news with the sound muted. A coffee machine in the corner burbled and hissed, filling the air with the bitter scent of hours-old coffee. Brianna sat between Officer Green and Vincent, wrapped in the blanket the nurse had provided. Despite her exhaustion, sleep wouldn't come. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw the crash again, heard the scream of metal, felt the impact. Officer Green's phone buzzed constantly as she coordinated with Child Protective Services, her station, and various supervisors. Vincent was on his phone too, speaking in low tones to his attorney, his accountant, his house manager. Making arrangements, moving pieces into place to help people he'd met only hours ago. At 2:47 a.m., Dr. Martinez pushed through the surgical doors. She looked exhausted but satisfied. Brianna jumped to her feet, her heart in her throat. The surgery went well, Dr. Martinez said, and Brianna felt her knees go weak with relief. We stopped the internal bleeding and repaired the damage. Her skull fracture is serious but stable. We've moved her to the ICU where we can monitor her closely. Can I see her? Soon. She's still unconscious from the anesthesia, and she'll probably remain unconscious for the next day or two while her body starts to heal. But you can sit with her for a few minutes if you'd like. They took the elevator up to the ICU on the 6th floor. It was even quieter here, with hushed voices and the steady beep of monitors. A nurse led them to a room where Tamara lay surrounded by even more machines than before. Her chest rose and fell with mechanical precision, a ventilator breathing for her. Her head was wrapped in fresh white bandages, her face swollen and bruised. "She looks worse than before," Brianna whispered, taking her mother's hand. "She's been through major surgery," the nurse explained gently. "The swelling and bruising will get worse before it gets better. But her vital signs are strong. She's a fighter." Brianna sat in the chair beside the bed, holding her mother's hand, talking to her in a whisper. She told her about Officer Green and Vincent, about the surgery, about how everything was going to be okay now. She didn't know if her mother could hear, but it made her feel better to say the words out loud. When they finally led her back to the waiting room, the sky outside the windows was beginning to lighten. Morning was coming, painting the city in shades of gray and pink. Officer Green's phone rang. She answered, listened, then smiled. "That was my supervisor. CPS has approved the temporary arrangement. Mr. Park's background check came back clean, and given the extraordinary circumstances, they're allowing Brianna to stay with him until her mother is discharged or other arrangements can be made. They'll do a home visit within the week, but for now you're good to go." Vincent nodded. "I have a car coming to take us to my house. Brianna needs proper rest, food, and clean clothes. We can come back this afternoon to visit Tamara." "I don't want to leave her," Brianna protested weakly. "I know. But your mother needs you to be strong and healthy. She needs you to take care of yourself so you can be here for her when she wakes up. Can you do that for her?" Brianna looked back at the doors leading to the ICU, then nodded slowly. "Okay." Vincent's house was in a neighborhood Brianna had never seen before. Not a neighborhood really. An estate. They drove through iron gates and up a long driveway lined with trees. The house itself was enormous, built of gray stone with tall windows that glittered in the morning sun. A woman in her 50s with kind eyes and gray-streaked black hair met them at the door. "Mr. Park, welcome home. And you must be Brianna. I'm Mrs. Kim, the house manager. Let me show you to your room." The room she led Brianna to was larger than the entire apartment Brianna and her mother shared. It had a 4-poster bed with a fluffy white comforter, a desk, bookshelves, and its own bathroom with a deep tub and shower. "I took the liberty of having some clothes brought in," Mrs. Kim said, opening a closet to reveal outfits in Brianna's size. Mr. Park called ahead. "If anything doesn't fit or isn't to your liking, we can exchange it." Brianna just stared. "This is all for me?" "Of course, dear. Now would you like a bath? And then perhaps some breakfast?" The hot bath helped wash away the dried blood and dirt. Mrs. Kim had provided soft pajamas, and after the bath she brought up a tray with scrambled eggs, toast, orange juice, and fresh fruit. Brianna ate mechanically, her body needing the fuel even though she had no appetite. Vincent appeared in the doorway, having changed from his suit into casual clothes. He looked less intimidating this way, more human. "How are you feeling?" he asked. "I don't know. Everything feels weird. Like it's not real." "I understand. You've been through something traumatic. It's going to take time to process." He sat in the chair by the window. "I want you to understand something, Brianna. You're not a burden here. You're not a charity case. You're a brave girl who did something incredible, and right now you need help. I'm honored to be able to provide that help. Why do you have all this?" Brianna asked, gesturing at the room, the house beyond. "How did you get so much money?" "I started a technology company when I was young. We developed software that many businesses use. Over the years the company grew and I invested wisely. Now I have more money than I could ever spend in several lifetimes." "That sounds lonely." Vincent blinked, surprised by her observation. "It can be. Especially after my wife and daughter died. My daughter, Sophie, was 8 when the accident happened. My wife was driving. They were hit by a drunk driver. Both killed instantly." "I'm sorry." "Me too. For a long time I thought having money meant I should have been able to prevent it. That I should have been able to protect them. I learned that some things can't be bought or controlled. But some things can be helped. Like making sure a brave little girl doesn't lose her mother because she can't afford hospital bills. When Mama gets better, how will we pay you back?" "You won't. This isn't a loan, Brianna. It's a gift. The only thing I ask in return is that someday if you see someone who needs help and you're in a position to give it, you do. You pass the kindness forward." Brianna considered this. "Mama always taught me to be kind. She said the world is hard enough without people making it harder for each other. Your mother sounds like a wise woman. I look forward to meeting her when she wakes up." Vincent stood. For now you should rest. Real rest in a real bed. I'll wake you in a few hours and we'll go back to the hospital. Does that sound acceptable? Brianna nodded. As Vincent started to leave, she called out, Mr. Park? Yes. Thank you. For everything. I don't know how to say it right, but thank you. You just did. Sleep well, Brianna. The bed was softer than anything Brianna had ever experienced. As she sank into it, exhaustion finally claimed her. She slept deeply, without dreams, her body finally able to rest knowing her mother was being cared for. When she woke, the sun was high in the sky. The clock on the nightstand read 2:30 p.m. She'd slept for 6 hours. Mrs. Kim appeared almost immediately, as if she'd been watching for signs of waking. Good afternoon, dear. Mr. Park wanted me to let him know when you woke. He's in his study. Would you like to freshen up first? 20 minutes later, dressed in new jeans and a red sweater that actually fit, Brianna followed Mrs. Kim through the house to Vincent's study. He was on the phone but gestured for her to come in. Yes, that's correct. Tamara Marie Johnson, currently in ICU at Mercy General. I want her to have the best of everything. If she needs specialists, fly them in. If she needs equipment the hospital doesn't have, buy it. Whatever it takes. Yes, send the bills to my office. Thank you. He hung up and smiled at Brianna. Ready to go see your mother? Yes, please. At the hospital, Tamara looked the same. Still unconscious, still connected to machines. But the nurse assured them her vital signs were improving. Brianna sat by her side for hours, talking to her, reading to her from a book Mrs. Kim had thought to pack. As evening approached, Dr. Martinez stopped by to check on her patient. She's doing remarkably well considering, the doctor reported. The swelling in her brain is going down. We're hopeful we can remove the ventilator in the next day or two and see if she can breathe on her own. And then she'll wake up? Brianna asked hopefully. Possibly. Brain injuries are unpredictable. She might wake up gradually over several days, or she might have one clear moment where she's suddenly aware. We'll have to wait and see. Over the next 3 days, Brianna fell into a routine. Wake up in Vincent's house, have breakfast with him and Mrs. Kim, go to the hospital and spend the day with her mother, return to the house for dinner and sleep. Vincent was always there, a steady presence. He never pushed, never tried to be more than he was. A kind man helping them through a crisis. On the 4th day, everything changed. Brianna was reading aloud from her favorite book when she felt her mother's hand twitch. She stopped mid-sentence, holding her breath. Mama? Another twitch. Then Tamara's eyelids fluttered. Mama, can you hear me? Squeeze my hand if you can hear me. A weak squeeze. Then Tamara's eyes opened, unfocused and confused, but open. Baby? Her voice was a raspy whisper, barely audible. I'm here, Mama. I'm right here. Tears streamed down Brianna's face as she pressed the call button for the nurse. Tamara tried to speak again, but the breathing tube prevented it. She looked terrified, her eyes darting around the unfamiliar room. It's okay, Mama. You were in an accident, but you're going to be okay. The doctors are taking care of you. I'm here. I didn't leave you. A nurse rushed in, followed quickly by Dr. Martinez. They checked Tamara's responses, shone lights in her eyes, asked her to follow simple commands. After a quick examination, Dr. Martinez smiled. Welcome back, Tamara. You gave us quite a scare. Can you squeeze my hand? Good. Can you wiggle your toes? Excellent. You're doing great. They removed the breathing tube and Tamara coughed and gasped, her throat raw. A nurse brought water with a straw and Tamara took tiny sips. Brianna, she whispered, her eyes finding her daughter. You're okay. Thank God you're okay. I'm fine, Mama. You're the one who was hurt. The accident. I remember. The truck. Tamara's eyes widened with panic. The bills. The hospital. We can't afford. She tried to sit up, agitation overriding her weakness. Mama, it's okay. Someone helped us. A man named Mr. Park. He paid for everything. Tamara looked confused. Who? As if summoned, Vincent appeared in the doorway. He'd been giving them privacy but had apparently been alerted that Tamara was awake. Mrs. Johnson. I'm Vincent Park. I'm very glad to see you awake. Tamara stared at him, trying to place him. I don't understand. Why would you? How much did this cost? I'll pay you back. I don't know how, but I'll find a way. Vincent held up a hand. Please don't worry about that. Your focus needs to be on healing. We can discuss details later, but I want you to know that this isn't a debt. Consider it a gift from someone who was in a position to help and wanted to do so. But I don't know you. Why would you do this for strangers? Because your daughter walked 3 miles on an injured ankle, alone and afraid, refusing to give up until she found help for you. That kind of courage and love deserves to be rewarded, not burdened with debt. Tamara looked at Brianna with wonder and pride. You did that? You walked all that way? I had to, Mama. Nobody would stop to help us. So I kept going until I found someone who would. Tamara started crying, pulling Brianna into a careful embrace. My brave, brave girl. Vincent stepped back, giving them space. Dr. Martinez cleared her throat. Mrs. Johnson, you're going to be here for a while yet. You still need surgery to repair your ribs, and you'll need extensive physical therapy. You're looking at least a month in the hospital, possibly 2. Tamara's face crumpled. My jobs. I'll lose all my jobs. And our apartment. I can't pay rent if I'm not working. We'll lose everything. About that, Vincent said carefully. If you're willing to accept more help, I'd like to make you an offer. Not as charity but as an opportunity. When you're recovered enough to work, I'd like to offer you a position in my company. Nothing you're not qualified for, nothing condescending. I run several community outreach programs, and I could use someone with your life experience to help run them. Someone who understands what it's like to struggle, who knows what people really need. Mr. Park, I don't have a college degree. I didn't even finish high school. Neither did I. I dropped out to start my first company. What I value is character, determination, and understanding. You've demonstrated all 3. The position comes with a competitive salary, full health benefits, and housing assistance. I have an apartment building I own where several of my employees live. It's safe, clean, and affordable. Tamara shook her head, overwhelmed. This is too much. Why are you doing this? Because I can. Because your daughter reminded me what real courage looks like. Because I have resources that can change your lives, and not using those resources to help when I clearly have the means would be wasteful. He paused. I lost my own daughter years ago. I couldn't save her. But I can help you and Brianna build a better life. Please let me do this. Accept the help with gratitude, use it to build something strong, and someday when you see someone else struggling, you pass that kindness forward. Brianna squeezed her mother's hand. Please, Mama. Let him help us. Tamara looked between her daughter and this stranger who had already given them so much. Pride warred with practicality, with hope, with the bone-deep exhaustion of years of struggling alone. Finally she nodded. Okay. We accept. With gratitude. With so much gratitude I don't have words for it. Thank you, Mr. Park. Thank you for saving my life and my daughter's future. Vincent smiled, and for the first time since his own daughter's death, it was a smile that reached his eyes. Call me Vincent. And you're very welcome. Now rest. Bill. Everything else will sort itself out. As he left the room, Dr. Martinez chuckled. You found yourselves a guardian angel. I think, Tamara said softly, watching her daughter's beaming face, we found each other at exactly the right time. The next 3 weeks passed in a blur of hospital routines, medical procedures, and gradual healing. Tamara underwent a second surgery to repair her broken ribs, which was successful but painful. Each day brought small victories, breathing without assistance, sitting up without dizziness, taking a few steps with a walker. Through it all, Brianna was there. Every day, Vincent would bring her to the hospital in the morning and pick her up in the evening. She did her homework in her mother's room, ate her meals on the fold-out tray table, and fell asleep in the uncomfortable vinyl chair more than once. Vincent visited too, usually in the afternoons. He never stayed long, never intruded, but his presence became a comforting constant. He brought books for Brianna, flowers for Tamara, and a quiet steadiness that both of them came to rely on. One afternoon, about 2 weeks into Tamara's recovery, Vincent arrived with someone new in tow. A woman in her 30s with curly brown hair and warm eyes, carrying a briefcase. Tamara, Brianna, this is Jennifer Mitchell. She's the director of the community outreach program I mentioned. Jennifer, this is Tamara Johnson and her daughter Brianna. Jennifer shook both their hands warmly. It's wonderful to meet you. Vincent has told me so much about you both. Mrs. Johnson, I hope this isn't premature, but Vincent asked me to come discuss the position he mentioned once you're feeling up to it. Tamara glanced at Vincent, who shrugged. No pressure. If you want to wait until you're further along in your recovery, that's fine. But Jennifer happened to be in the building for a meeting, and I thought it might be good for you to hear what the job actually entails. I'd like to hear about it, Tamara said. She was sitting up in bed, looking stronger than she had days ago, though still pale and tired. Jennifer pulled a chair closer. Our community outreach program works with families in crisis. Single parents, people facing eviction, kids who need help with education costs. We provide emergency assistance, connect people with resources, and follow up to ensure they're getting back on their feet. It's rewarding work but can be emotionally demanding. What would I be doing exactly? Initially, you'd be working with our case managers, learning our systems and meeting the families we serve. As you get more comfortable, you'd start managing your own caseload. Eventually, with time and experience, you could move into a supervisory role if you wanted. The starting salary is $50,000 a year with full health benefits, paid vacation, and opportunities for advancement. Tamara's eyes widened. $50,000 was more than she'd made in her best year working 3 jobs combined. That's incredibly generous. It's market rate for the position, Jennifer said simply. Vincent is generous in many ways, but he's also a smart businessman. He pays people what they're worth because it means they stay, they do good work, and they care about what they're doing. Have you ever wondered what it would feel like to have someone believe in you when you've almost given up on yourself? To have a stranger offer not pity, but opportunity? If this story is touching your heart, please subscribe to hear how Brianna and Tamara's journey continues. And in the comments, tell me, would you have stopped to help that day on the highway? Your answer might surprise you. When would you need me to start? Tamara asked. Not until you're fully cleared by your doctors. Vincent mentioned you'll need physical therapy for several months. We can work around that. Maybe you start part-time at first, build up to full-time as you regain your strength. I'd like that. I'd really like that. Tamara's voice was thick with emotion. I've worked minimum wage jobs my entire life. I never imagined something like this was possible for someone like me. Someone like you? Jennifer repeated gently. You mean someone who's fought tooth and nail to provide for her daughter? Someone who taught that daughter to be brave and persistent? Those are exactly the qualities we need in this program, Tamara. After Jennifer left, Tamara was quiet for a long time. Brianna had gone down to the cafeteria with a nurse to get a snack, leaving Tamara alone with Vincent. Why are you really doing all this? Tamara asked finally. And please don't tell me it's just because you can. There are millions of people who could use help. Why us? Vincent was silent for a moment, gathering his thoughts. Do you really want the honest answer? Yes. Because Brianna reminded me of Sophie. My daughter. Not in appearance but in spirit. Sophie was fearless. She believed the world was good, that people were kind, that everything would always work out. And then a drunk driver took her away, and I learned that sometimes courage isn't enough. Sometimes bad things happen to good people, and there's nothing money or power or love can do to stop it. He looked out the window, his jaw tight. 4 years after Sophie died, I threw myself into work. Made more money, built bigger companies, achieved every marker of success. But none of it meant anything. I couldn't save my daughter, so what was the point of having all this wealth? And then I saw a 7-year-old girl standing in a police station, covered in blood and dirt, who had just walked 3 miles to save her mother. Who had been turned away by dozens of people but refused to give up. And I thought, this is it. This is what Sophie would have wanted me to do. Use everything I have to make sure kids like Brianna and mothers like you don't get crushed by circumstances that aren't your fault. Tamara reached out and squeezed his hand. I'm sorry you lost your daughter. That's a pain I can't imagine. But I'm grateful, so grateful that you chose to help us. You didn't just save my life, Vincent. You saved both of our futures. You would have found a way, Vincent said. Women like you always do. I just made the path a little easier. A little? Tamara laughed, the sound still weak but genuine. You basically rebuilt the entire path. Over the following week, Tamara made remarkable progress. The physical therapist got her walking without the walker, first for short distances then longer ones. The pain from her ribs eased. The headaches from the skull fracture became less frequent. Color returned to her cheeks. And throughout it all, she got to know Vincent better. They talked during his afternoon visits, sharing stories about their lives. Tamara told him about growing up poor in rural Georgia, about getting pregnant at 17 and being abandoned by Brianna's father, about the long struggle to build a life for her daughter while barely keeping their heads above water. Vincent told her about building his first company in his garage, about meeting his wife, Elena, at a technology conference, about Sophie's birth and the 8 precious years they'd had with her before the accident. They were different in so many ways but similar in others. Both had known loss. Both had learned to be strong when life demanded it. Both understood that love sometimes meant sacrifice. Brianna noticed the way they talked to each other, how her mother smiled more when Vincent was in the room, how Vincent's face softened when he looked at them. She was 7 but she wasn't blind. Something was growing between them, something warm and hopeful. One evening, as Vincent drove Brianna back to his house after visiting hours, she decided to ask about it. Do you like my mama? Vincent glanced at her in the rearview mirror. Of course I like your mother. She's a remarkable woman. No, I mean, do you like her? The way people do when they want to be boyfriend and girlfriend. Vincent was quiet for a long moment. Would that bother you? If I did? Brianna considered. I don't think so. Mama's been alone for a long time. She works so hard and never does anything fun or nice for herself. You make her smile. I like that. Your mother and I are becoming friends, Brianna. Good friends. Anything beyond that would be a long way off, if it happened at all. We've only known each other a few weeks. But you think she's pretty? It wasn't a question. Vincent smiled slightly. Yes, I think she's pretty. I also think she's strong, smart, and the best mother I've ever seen. But none of that matters if she doesn't feel the same way. And even if she does, we take things very slowly. You and your mother have been through enough upheaval. The last thing either of you needs is more changes. I wouldn't mind if you wanted to be around more. You're nice. And you have really good snacks at your house. Vincent laughed, the sound surprising him. He hadn't laughed much in the years since Sophie's death, but somehow this little girl and her mother had brought light back into his carefully controlled world. The snacks are pretty good, he agreed. Mrs. Kim does excellent work. As they pulled up to the house, Brianna unbuckled her seatbelt but didn't immediately get out. Mr. Park? Vincent. Yes. Thank you for being our friend. Mama and me, we haven't had many friends. It's nice. It's nice for me too, Brianna. I haven't had many friends either lately. I think we're all pretty lucky to have found each other. That night, as Brianna got ready for bed, she thought about everything that had happened. A month ago, her life had been hard but stable. She and Mama struggled, but they had each other in their small apartment and their routines. Then came the crash and everything shattered. But from that shattering came something unexpected. A man who could have driven past like everyone else but chose to care instead. A chance at a better life. A future that held possibilities they'd never dared to imagine. Brianna fell asleep smiling, dreaming of her mother walking out of the hospital, healthy and whole, ready to start their new life together. 6 weeks after the accident, Tamara was finally discharged from the hospital. The doctors were amazed by her recovery. The skull fracture had healed cleanly. Her ribs had mended. The internal injuries had resolved without complications. She still needed physical therapy and regular checkups, but she was alive, mobile, and on the road to full recovery. Vincent arranged everything for her homecoming. Not back to their old apartment, which they'd lost when Tamara couldn't pay rent from her hospital bed. Instead, he took them to one of his apartment buildings, a beautiful complex with a doorman, a small gym, and a community room where residents gathered. Their new apartment was on the 3rd floor, with 2 bedrooms, large windows that let in plenty of light, and furniture that was simple but comfortable. Brianna had her own room for the first time in her life. Tamara walked through the space with tears in her eyes. This is ours, she whispered. It's yours, Vincent confirmed. The rent is subsidized through the company housing program. You'll pay based on your salary, which means it will be affordable even on a single income. When you start work, it will be even easier. When do I start work? Tamara asked. She was cleared for light duty and honestly she was eager to begin. The thought of having purpose beyond healing, of contributing and building something, excited her. Whenever you're ready. Jennifer suggested starting 3 days a week, 4 hours a day and building up from there. Does that sound manageable? That sounds perfect. Over the next few weeks, Tamara settled into her new life. She started working at the Community Outreach Center, and just as Jennifer had promised, the work was rewarding. She met families struggling with situations she'd lived through herself. She could offer not just resources but genuine understanding. She knew what it felt like to choose between rent and food. She knew the desperation of a sick child and no health insurance. She knew. And that knowing made her invaluable. Brianna enrolled in a new school closer to their apartment. It was a better school than her old one, with smaller classes and more resources. She made friends quickly, her natural friendliness and the dramatic story of her mother's survival making her popular. Vincent remained a constant presence in their lives. He visited often, sometimes taking them to dinner, sometimes just stopping by to see how they were doing. His relationship with Tamara deepened, moving beyond gratitude and circumstance into genuine friendship. One evening, about 2 months after Tamara's discharge, Vincent invited them to his house for dinner. Mrs. Kim prepared a feast, and they ate in the formal dining room, Brianna chattering happily about school while the adults listened and smiled. After dinner, Vincent asked Brianna if she'd like to see the game room. She lit up and ran off with Mrs. Kim, leaving Tamara and Vincent alone in the sitting room. She's happy, Tamara observed, watching her daughter disappear down the hallway. She is. So are you, I hope. I am. More than I ever thought possible. Tamara turned to look at Vincent. I keep waiting for the other shoe to drop. For this all to be a dream I'll wake up from. It's not a dream. This is real. You and Brianna deserve this life, Tamara. You've earned it through years of hard work and sacrifice. I'm not used to things being easy. Is it easy? Vincent asked gently. You're still in physical therapy twice a week. You're learning a new job while recovering from major trauma. You're building a new life in a new place. That doesn't sound easy to me. That sounds like continued courage. Tamara smiled. When you put it that way, I guess it is still hard. Just hard in different ways. They sat in comfortable silence for a moment before Vincent spoke again. Tamara, I want to ask you something. And please feel free to say no if it's too much or too soon. Okay. The foundation I'm starting, the one inspired by Brianna's story, it officially launches next month. I'd like you to be there at the event. Not as an employee but as a partner in this mission. Your story, your perspective, it matters. People need to hear from someone who's lived through crisis, not just someone who writes checks to help others. You want me to speak? In front of people? Only if you're comfortable. But yes, I think your voice could make a real difference. Tamara thought about it. A year ago she would have said no immediately. She wasn't someone who spoke in public. She was invisible, working her 3 jobs and keeping her head down. But she wasn't that person anymore. That person had died in a car crash on Highway 47. This new Tamara had survived, had fought, had accepted help and built something new from the ashes of her old life. I'll do it, she said. I'll speak. Vincent smiled. Thank you. This foundation, it means a lot to me. It's the first thing since Sophie died that feels like it matters. Tell me about her, Tamara said softly. About Sophie. You mention her sometimes but you never really talk about who she was. Vincent's expression turned distant. She was light. Pure, joyful light. She laughed all the time at everything. Bad jokes, silly faces, her own mistakes. She found joy in the smallest things. A ladybug on a leaf. A song on the radio. The way ice cream melted on a hot day. She sounds wonderful. She was. Elena, my wife, she was more serious. Practical. A planner. She balanced me out. Together they were everything. And then one night, a man who'd had too much to drink decided to drive home anyway. He ran a red light. Hit their car broadside. They died at the scene. Did they catch him? The drunk driver? Yes. He served 3 years in prison. Got out early for good behavior. Vincent's voice was flat, emotionless. 3 years for 2 lives. It felt like an insult. Like the justice system was saying my wife and daughter weren't worth more than that. I'm so sorry, Vincent. I was angry for a long time. Angry at the driver, at the judge, at the justice system, at God, at the universe, at everything. But anger is exhausting. Eventually I just felt empty. I had all this money, all this success, and none of it mattered because the people I loved were gone. What changed? Vincent looked at her directly. Brianna. Seeing her fight so hard to save you, it woke something up in me. It reminded me that love is worth fighting for. That the world still has good in it even when it also has pain. That maybe I could use everything I have to tip the scales a little more toward good. Tamara reached across the space between them and took his hand. I'm glad you found us. Or we found you. However it worked out. Vincent looked down at their joined hands, then back up at her face. Something shifted in his expression, something warm and wondering. Tamara, I need to be honest with you about something. Okay. When I first helped you, it was about Brianna. About seeing my daughter and her courage and wanting to honor Sophie's memory by making sure another child didn't lose their mother. But over these past months, it's become about more than that. It's become about you. About who you are as a person. About how much I've come to care about you, not as someone I'm helping, but as someone I genuinely admire and respect and... He paused, seeming to weigh his next words. And have feelings for. Tamara's breath caught. Vincent. I'm not asking for anything, he said quickly. I know the power dynamic here is complicated. I'm your employer, I paid your medical bills, I've helped you in so many ways. I would never want you to feel obligated or pressured. But I also don't want to be dishonest. I care about you. Deeply. And if, someday when things are more settled and you feel on more equal footing, if you might feel the same way, I'd like to explore that. But only if you want to. Only if it's real for you too. Tamara was quiet for a long moment, her heart racing. She'd noticed her own feelings growing too, the way she looked forward to Vincent's visits, the way his smile made her day better, the way she'd started to think of him as more than a benefactor or friend. But she'd pushed those feelings down, telling herself they weren't real, that they were just gratitude or trauma bonding or some kind of psychological response to being saved. Now, looking at his earnest face, she realized that wasn't true. What she felt was genuine. Complicated, yes. Messy in ways that would need to be worked through. But real. I do feel the same way, she admitted. I've been trying not to because it seemed wrong somehow. Like I'd be taking advantage of your kindness. But my feelings don't seem to care about that logic. I care about you, Vincent. I look forward to seeing you. I miss you when you're not around. I want to know everything about you. But, Vincent asked because he could hear the hesitation in her voice. But I need time. I need to feel like I'm standing on my own 2 feet before I can enter a relationship as an equal partner. Right now, you hold all the power. You've given me everything. I need to be able to give too, not just receive. I understand. And I respect that. Vincent squeezed her hand gently. Take all the time you need. I'm not going anywhere. I'm patient. And in the meantime, we keep building our friendship. We work together on the foundation. We make sure Brianna continues to thrive. The rest will sort itself out when it's ready. From the hallway, they heard Brianna's laughter mixing with Mrs. Kim's chuckle. The sound was light and happy, the sound of a child who felt safe. We're building something good here, Tamara said. All of us together. We are, Vincent agreed. And whatever shape it ultimately takes, I'm grateful to be part of it. They sat together in the sitting room, hands still joined, listening to the sounds of life and laughter echoing through the house. Outside the windows, the city lights twinkled like earthbound stars. The night was dark, but inside, everything was warm and full of hope. The foundation officially launched on a crisp autumn morning, 3 months after the accident that changed everything. The event was held in the ballroom of a downtown hotel, with local reporters, potential donors and community leaders in attendance. Tamara stood backstage, her hands shaking as she reviewed her notes. She wore a red dress that Vincent had helped her pick out, simple but elegant. Her hair, which had grown back over the scar from her surgery, was styled neatly. She looked like a different person from the woman who'd worked 3 minimum-wage jobs and lived paycheck to paycheck. But inside she still felt like that woman. Still felt undeserving of standing on a stage, speaking into a microphone, being treated as someone whose opinion mattered. You look terrified, Vincent said, coming up beside her. I am terrified. You don't have to do this. I can speak for both of us. Tamara shook her head. No, you were right. People need to hear from someone who's lived it. I can do this. Brianna appeared, wearing a green dress with her hair in braids. You're going to be great, Mama? Just talk to them like you talk to me. Tell them your story. Tamara knelt down and hugged her daughter. When did you get so wise? I learned from the best. The event began with Vincent giving a brief introduction. He explained the Foundation's mission, to provide emergency assistance to families in crisis, with a focus on medical emergencies, housing instability, and children's needs. He talked about the importance of not just giving money but providing pathways to stability. Then he introduced Tamara. I'd like you to meet someone who embodies everything this foundation stands for. Tamara Johnson is a mother, a survivor, and now a leader in our community outreach program. She's going to share her story with you today, not because it's easy but because it matters. Please welcome Tamara Johnson. Tamara walked onto the stage, her legs feeling like rubber. The lights were bright, the audience was large, and for a moment she froze. But then she saw Brianna in the front row, giving her a thumbs up, and Vincent standing in the wings with an encouraging smile. She took a deep breath and began. 3 months ago, my daughter and I were in a car accident. A truck ran a red light and hit us. I was badly injured, unconscious. And my 7-year-old daughter, Brianna, was faced with a terrible choice. She could stay with me and hope someone would stop to help. Or she could leave me and go find help herself. The room was silent, everyone leaning forward. She chose to go for help. And this is what she learned that day. Most people won't help. They'll drive past. They'll make excuses. They'll protect themselves first. Brianna walked 3 miles on a twisted ankle, begging people to call for help, and almost everyone said no. Tamara paused, letting that sink in. She saw faces in the audience shifting, some looking uncomfortable, others sad. I'm not telling you this to make you feel guilty. I'm telling you this because it's the truth. We live in a society where helping someone in crisis has become optional. Where people are so afraid of scams or inconvenience or getting involved that they choose to look away. But here's the other truth, not everyone looks away. Vincent Park could have walked past my daughter at that police station. He could have thought, not my problem, not my responsibility. But he didn't. He stopped. He listened. He helped. And because of that, I'm standing here today. Alive. Healthy. Working a job I love. Raising my daughter in a safe home. Tamara's voice grew stronger. This foundation exists because one person chose to help instead of walking away. But imagine if it didn't have to be that rare. Imagine if helping someone in crisis was the norm, not the exception. That's what we're trying to build here. A community where people look out for each other. Where a child like Brianna never has to walk miles begging for help because everyone stops at the first call. She told them about the families she'd worked with in her months at the community outreach center. The single father who needed help with childcare while he worked 2 jobs. The grandmother raising her grandkids who couldn't afford their medication. The family facing eviction because of one unexpected medical bill. These aren't lazy people looking for handouts, Tamara said firmly. These are people working hard, playing by the rules, and still falling through the cracks because one bad thing happened. A car accident. An illness. A job loss. Things that could happen to anyone. Things that probably will happen to most of us at some point in our lives. The question is, what kind of society do we want to be? One that walks past people in need? Or one that stops to help? When she finished speaking, the room erupted in applause. People stood. Some were wiping their eyes. Tamara looked at Vincent, who was clapping hardest of all, pride written across his face. After the event, dozens of people approached Tamara wanting to shake her hand, share their own stories, or pledge support to the foundation. Several local news stations asked for interviews. A woman from the mayor's office wanted to discuss implementing similar programs citywide. Brianna watched her mother handle it all with growing confidence, her chest swelling with pride. That was her mama up there. Her mama who had survived. Who was strong. Who mattered. In the weeks following the launch, the foundation received an overwhelming response. Donations poured in. Volunteers signed up. Stories were shared on social media, spreading the message of helping instead of looking away. Tamara threw herself into the work, expanding from part-time to full-time. She discovered she had a gift for connecting with people, for understanding their needs, for finding creative solutions to complicated problems. Jennifer, her supervisor, began including her in higher-level meetings, valuing her input. Vincent watched her bloom with satisfaction. This was what he'd hoped for when he first offered help. Not to create dependency but to remove barriers so someone talented could reach their potential. Their relationship continued to deepen, though they were careful to keep appropriate boundaries. They had lunch together at least once a week, always at restaurants near the office where it looked professional. They texted regularly, sharing funny stories or interesting articles. And once a month, Vincent would invite Tamara and Brianna to his house for dinner, evenings that felt increasingly like family time. One evening, about 4 months after the foundation launch, Tamara got home from work to find Brianna struggling with a math problem. She'd been stuck on it for an hour, growing increasingly frustrated. "Let me see," Tamara said, looking over her daughter's shoulder. She studied the problem, which involved fractions and percentages, and suddenly felt inadequate. Math had never been her strength. "Let me call Vincent. He's good at this stuff." "He's not my dad, Mama." "You don't have to call him for everything." The comment surprised Tamara. "Do you not want me to call him?" Brianna shrugged. "I like Vincent. I really do. But sometimes I feel like you're only together because he saved us. Like you feel like you have to be with him because you owe him." Tamara set down the homework and pulled Brianna into her lap, even though her daughter was getting too big for it. "Is that what you think? That I'm with Vincent out of obligation? Aren't you?" "No, baby. I care about Vincent because of who he is. Yes, he helped us. Yes, I'm grateful for that. But that's not why I spend time with him. I spend time with him because he makes me laugh. Because he's kind to you. Because he listens when I talk. Because being around him makes me happy." "Really? Really? If I was just with him out of obligation, do you think I'd be happy? Do I seem unhappy to you?" Brianna thought about it. "No. You smile a lot now. More than before." "Exactly. I smile because life is better. And some of that is because we have a nice apartment and I have a good job. But a lot of it is because I have someone in my life who sees me as more than just a struggling single mom. Vincent sees me as smart, capable, worth listening to. That feels good." "Do you love him?" The question was direct, and Tamara found she didn't have to think about the answer. "Yes, I think I do. I know it's fast and I know the circumstances are complicated. But yes, I love him." "Does that bother you?" "No," Brianna said slowly. "I think I love him too. Not like a dad but like a really good friend who happens to be a grown-up." Is that okay? That's more than okay. That's wonderful. They solved the math problem together using a YouTube tutorial, then made dinner and talked about Brianna's upcoming school project. As Tamara tucked her daughter into bed that night, Brianna said, "Mama? I'm glad we got into that accident." "What? Brianna, you can't mean that. I don't mean I'm glad you got hurt. But I'm glad about everything that happened after. I'm glad we met Vincent. I'm glad we have this apartment. I'm glad you're not working 3 jobs and always tired. I'm glad we're happy now." Tamara kissed her daughter's forehead. "I understand. Sometimes bad things lead to good things. But I hope you never have to go through something like that again to be happy. You deserve happiness just because you exist, not because you survived something terrible." As she left Brianna's room, Tamara's phone buzzed. A text from Vincent. "Hope Brianna got her homework figured out. If you two are free this Saturday, I'd like to take you somewhere special." Tamara smiled and texted back, "We're free. Where are we going?" "It's a surprise. But dress warm. And prepare to be impressed." Tamara laughed and set down her phone. Life was good. Not perfect. She still had moments of fear, times when she woke up from nightmares about the crash. She still felt intimidated at work sometimes, like she didn't belong in meetings with people who had college degrees and years of experience. But those moments were becoming rarer. More and more she felt confident, capable, like someone who deserved the life she was building. And maybe that was the greatest gift Vincent had given her. Not the money or the apartment or the job, though all of those mattered. The greatest gift was the belief that she could be more than she'd been, that she was worth investing in, that her story didn't have to end in struggle. Saturday came and Vincent picked them up in the morning. Instead of his usual car, he'd rented an SUV. They drove out of the city into the countryside until they reached a small airport. "An airport?" Brianna asked, confused. "Come on," Vincent said mysteriously. He led them to a private plane waiting on the tarmac. A small jet with comfortable seats and a friendly pilot who waved as they boarded. "Vincent, what is this?" Tamara asked, astonished. "You've both been through so much. You've worked so hard. I thought you deserved a day of pure fun. So we're going to the coast. There's a beach town there that Sophie used to love. I haven't been back since she died, but I think it's time. And I'd like to share it with the 2 people who've helped me remember how to be happy." As the plane took off, Brianna pressed her face to the window, watching the world shrink below them. Tamara reached across the aisle and took Vincent's hand. "Thank you," she said softly. "For all of it." "Thank you," Vincent replied. "For letting me in. For trusting me. For being exactly who you are." They spent the day at the beach, building sandcastles and collecting shells and eating ice cream that dripped in the sunshine. They laughed until their sides hurt. They held hands walking along the shore. They took pictures that would sit on Tamara's desk at work and on Vincent's nightstand at home. As the sun set over the ocean, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink, Vincent put his arm around Tamara's shoulders. Brianna ran ahead, chasing seagulls with delighted shrieks. "I love you," Vincent said simply. "I know it's soon. I know we're still figuring things out. But I love you. You and Brianna both. You've brought light back into my life." "I love you too," Tamara replied, leaning into his embrace. "I was scared to say it. Scared it was too fast or that I was confusing gratitude with love. But it's real. This is real." They kissed as the sun touched the horizon, and somewhere down the beach, Brianna saw them and smiled. Her family was growing. And that felt exactly right. 6 months after the launch, the foundation had helped over 200 families. The success was beyond anything Vincent had imagined. Local businesses were partnering with them. The mayor had appointed Tamara to a task force on poverty reduction. National news outlets were covering their story. Tamara was working full-time and loving it. She discovered a passion for advocacy, testifying at city council meetings about the need for better social services, writing op-eds for local newspapers, appearing on panels to discuss systemic poverty. Brianna was thriving too. Her grades were excellent, she'd joined the school's math club, and she'd started volunteering at the foundation's community center on Saturdays, helping with the children's program. Vincent watched both of them with pride and something deeper. He'd fallen completely in love with Tamara, and Brianna had become the daughter of his heart even if not of his blood. His house felt empty when they weren't there. His achievements felt hollow if he couldn't share them with them. One evening, Vincent called Tamara and asked her to come to his house alone. Brianna could stay with Mrs. Kim. He needed to discuss something important. Tamara felt nervous as she drove over. Had something gone wrong? Had she made a mistake at work? But when she arrived, Vincent's house was lit with candles. Soft music played in the background. A private chef had prepared dinner. "What's all this?" Tamara asked, confused. "I wanted tonight to be special. Come sit." They had dinner together, talking and laughing as they always did. But Tamara could sense Vincent's nervous energy, the way he seemed to be working up to something. After dinner, he led her to the garden behind his house. It had been transformed with strings of lights hanging from the trees, creating a canopy of stars. In the center of the garden was a small fountain that hadn't been there before, with a bronze plaque attached. Tamara read the plaque. "In memory of Sophie Park, whose spirit lives on in every child we help, every family we save, every act of kindness we choose instead of looking away." Tears filled Tamara's eyes. "Vincent, it's beautiful. I wanted to honor her. But I also wanted to show you something." He took her hands. 4 years after Sophie died, I was stuck. I was living but not really alive. Just going through the motions. And then I met you and Brianna and everything changed. You reminded me what it meant to hope. To love. To believe that good things could still happen. "Vincent. Let me finish. Please." He smiled nervously. "I know we haven't been together very long in the traditional sense. But I also feel like I've known you forever. Like I've been waiting my whole life. To meet someone who understands both the darkness and the light. Someone who's been broken but chose to heal. Someone who's known pain but chose kindness anyway." He dropped to one knee and Tamara gasped. "Tamara Johnson, I love you. I love Brianna. I want to build a life with both of you if you'll have me. I want family dinners and homework help and holiday traditions. I want to grow old with you. I want to continue this work we're doing together, helping people, making the world a little bit better. But most of all, I want to wake up every day knowing you're in my life. Will you marry me?" He pulled out a ring, simple but beautiful. A single diamond on a silver band. Tamara was crying, her hands shaking. This moment felt impossible. A year ago, she'd been struggling to pay rent, working herself to exhaustion, wondering if she'd ever catch a break. Now a man she loved was on one knee, offering her not just security but partnership. Not just help but love. Not just a way out of poverty but a way into joy. "Yes," she said through tears. "Yes, I'll marry you. Yes to all of it." Vincent slipped the ring onto her finger and stood, pulling her into a kiss. They held each other in the garden under the lights, two people who'd found each other in the aftermath of tragedy and chosen to build something beautiful from the pieces. When they finally pulled apart, Vincent laughed. "I was so nervous. What if you'd said no? I could never say no to you. You've given me everything. You've given me just as much. You've given me hope, purpose, a reason to believe in tomorrow." They returned inside to call Brianna and tell her the news. When they picked her up from Mrs. Kim's house, Brianna ran to them with a knowing smile. "You asked her, didn't you? You asked Mama to marry you?" Vincent laughed. "How did you know?" "Because you've been acting weird all week. And because you love each other. It was obvious." "Are you happy about it?" Tamara asked. "We wanted to make sure you're comfortable with this." Brianna rolled her eyes with all the drama of an 8-year-old. "Of course I'm happy. Vincent's great. And now I'll get to live in that amazing house with the game room and the huge bathtub and Mrs. Kim's cooking." They all laughed, relief and joy mixing together. The wedding was small and intimate, held 3 months later in Vincent's garden beneath the trees. Tamara wore a blue dress that made her eyes shine. Brianna was the flower girl, taking her role very seriously. Jennifer and several people from the foundation attended, along with Officer Patricia Green, who'd maintained a friendship with the family. There were no fancy traditions or elaborate ceremonies. They simply stood before their friends and family and promised to love each other, to support each other, to build a life together based on mutual respect and partnership. When Vincent kissed his bride, Brianna cheered loudly enough to make everyone laugh. The reception was joyful, full of dancing and laughter. At one point, Vincent took the microphone and gave a short speech. "A year ago, I thought my life was over in any way that mattered. I had success but no meaning. Wealth but no purpose. And then a brave little girl reminded me what courage looks like. What love looks like. What it means to never give up even when the world seems determined to knock you down." He looked at Brianna, who beamed. "Brianna, you saved your mother's life that day on the highway. But you also saved mine. You reminded me that the world still has good in it. That miracles still happen. That sometimes bad things can lead to incredibly beautiful things." He turned to Tamara. "And you, my love. You've taught me that strength isn't about never falling down. It's about getting back up. That accepting help isn't weakness, it's wisdom. That love isn't about grand gestures, it's about showing up every day and choosing each other over and over again. I promise to be the man you both deserve. to honor your strength, to support your dreams, to be your partner in every sense of the word. To never take for granted the gift of being part of your lives. There wasn't a dry eye in the garden. After the reception, as they prepared to leave for their honeymoon, Tamara pulled Vincent aside. They were going to Paris for a week, just the two of them. Brianna would stay with Mrs. Kim, who she'd already decided was the best grandmother a girl could ask for. "I need to tell you something," Tamara said. Vincent's expression turned concerned. "What is it?" "I've been offered a job. A bigger job. The mayor's office wants me to head up a new initiative on poverty reduction across the entire city. It would mean more responsibility, more visibility, more pressure." "That's wonderful. Why do you look worried?" "Because it would also mean working closely with the mayor, with city officials, with politicians. I'd be in the spotlight. People would scrutinize my past, my lack of education, my background. What if I'm not ready? What if I fail?" Vincent cupped her face in his hands. "You won't fail. You're one of the smartest, most capable people I've ever met. You've lived the problems you're trying to solve. That's not a weakness, Tamara. That's your superpower." "You really believe that?" "I know it. Take the job. Brianna and I will be here supporting you every step of the way. And if it turns out it's not the right fit, you'll figure something else out. You always do." Tamara kissed him, grateful and relieved. "I love you so much." "I love you too. Now come on, we have a plane to catch." As they drove away from the reception, Tamara looked back at the house where Brianna stood waving with Mrs. Kim. Her daughter was smiling, happy, secure. A year ago, Tamara had been unconscious in a crashed car, her life hanging by a thread. Now she was married to a man she loved, working a job that fulfilled her, living a life she'd never dared to dream possible. She thought about all the people who'd driven past Brianna that day. All the people who'd said no when asked for help. All the people who'd looked away. And she thought about the one person who'd said yes. "Thank you," she whispered to Vincent as they drove through the city lights. "For what?" "For stopping. For caring. For being the person who said yes when everyone else said no." Vincent squeezed her hand. "Thank you for letting me. For trusting me. For showing me that it's never too late to find family, to find purpose, to find love." They drove into the night, toward the airport and Paris beyond. Behind them, the foundation they'd built together continued its work, helping families, changing lives, spreading the simple but powerful message that sometimes, all it takes is one person willing to stop and help. One person willing to care. One person willing to say yes. 1 year later, the foundation held its first anniversary celebration. What had started as Vincent's personal mission had grown into a city-wide movement. Corporate sponsors had joined. Other wealthy individuals had followed Vincent's example, pledging significant resources. The foundation now had a full staff, multiple programs, and had helped over 1,000 families. The celebration was held in the same hotel ballroom where they'd launched, but this time the room was packed. Media covered the event. The mayor spoke. Local celebrities attended to show their support. But the highlight of the evening was Brianna. At 9 years old, she'd been asked to give a speech about the foundation and what it meant to her. She wore a bright red dress and had practiced her speech for weeks with Tamara and Vincent. As she walked onto the stage, the audience erupted in applause. Many of them knew her story. The little girl who'd walked 3 miles to save her mother. The child whose courage had inspired all of this. Brianna waited for the applause to die down, then began. "Last year, the worst thing that ever happened to me turned into the best thing. I know that sounds weird. How can a car crash be good? But let me explain." She told the story again, but this time from a year's distance. With the perspective of someone who'd healed, who'd grown, who'd seen the ripple effects of that terrible day. "When I was walking on that highway begging people to help, I learned something sad. I learned that most people will look away. They'll protect themselves first. They'll worry about being tricked or being late or being inconvenienced. And I was just a kid, but I remember thinking, if this many people can say no to a hurt child, something is really wrong with the world. But then I got to the police station and I met Officer Green, who believed me right away. And I met Vincent, who didn't even know us but decided to help anyway. And I learned something else. I learned that it only takes one person saying yes to change everything. Officer Green got my mom to the hospital. Vincent paid for the surgery that saved her life. He gave us a place to live and my mom a job she loves. He married us and became my family. All because he was the one person who said yes." Brianna paused, looking out at the audience. "This foundation is about being that person. The one who says yes. The one who stops to help. The one who gives people a chance. In the past year, we've helped over 1,000 families. That's 1,000 times someone said yes instead of no. 1,000 times someone stopped instead of driving past. 1,000 times someone cared instead of looking away. My mom always told me to be kind because the world is hard enough without people making it harder. This foundation is about making the world a little bit softer, a little bit kinder, a little bit more like the place we wish it was. I'm 9 years old, so I can't give you money or help very much yet. But I can promise you this, when I grow up, I'm going to keep doing this work. I'm going to keep being the person who says yes. Because I remember what it felt like when everyone said no. And I never want anyone else to feel that way if I can help it. So thank you to everyone here who said yes. Thank you to Vincent for being the person who stopped. Thank you to my mom for teaching me to never give up. And thank you to all the families we've helped, for letting us be part of your story. The applause was thunderous. People stood, many wiping tears from their eyes. Tamara was crying, pride radiating from every part of her. Vincent had his arm around her, his own eyes suspiciously bright. After the speeches, as people mingled and celebrated, Officer Patricia Green approached Tamara and Vincent. "You three have built something incredible," she said. "We couldn't have done it without you," Tamara replied. "You were the first person who believed Brianna. I just did my job. You all did the remarkable thing. Turning trauma into purpose. Pain into progress." Patricia paused. "I've been thinking a lot about that night. About how many people didn't stop to help. I've trained all my officers now on how to spot children in distress, how to take those situations seriously. Because of Brianna, we're better at our jobs." "That means so much," Vincent said. "The ripple effects keep spreading." Indeed they did. In the years since the foundation launched, 3 other cities had started similar programs. Vincent had been invited to speak at conferences about effective philanthropy. Tamara's work with the mayor's office had led to policy changes that made it easier for families in crisis to access services. But perhaps most importantly, the conversation had shifted. People were talking about their responsibility to help, about building communities that caught people when they fell instead of letting them crash. As the celebration wound down, the family of 3, Vincent, Tamara, and Brianna, found a quiet corner to themselves. "You did amazing tonight," Tamara told Brianna, hugging her daughter tight. "I was so nervous," Brianna admitted. "You couldn't tell. You were confident and articulate and inspiring," Vincent added. "Do you think I really helped? By telling my story?" "I know you did," Vincent said. "I saw people crying, pulling out their phones to make donations, signing up to volunteer. Your story matters, Brianna. It reminds people of their humanity." Brianna looked thoughtful. "Vincent, can I ask you something?" "Of course. Do you still miss Sophie? Your daughter who died?" Vincent's expression softened. "Every day. Not in the sad way I used to, but in a gentle way. I remember her laugh, her curiosity, how much she loved learning new things. Those memories make me smile now instead of just making me sad." "Do you think she would have liked me?" "I think she would have loved you. I think she would have thought you were the bravest person she ever met." "I think I would have liked her too," Brianna said. "And I'm sorry she died. But I'm glad you found us after. Because you needed a family and we needed you." Vincent pulled both Brianna and Tamara into his arms. "I am the luckiest man in the world. To have found both of you, to have this second chance at family, to get to do work that matters. This is more than I ever hoped for." "We're the lucky ones," Tamara corrected. "You saved our lives in every way a person can be saved." "We saved each other," Vincent said. "That's how it works. Real love, real family, it's not one person rescuing another. It's everyone lifting each other up." As they stood together in the ballroom, surrounded by the evidence of the good they'd created, Tamara thought back to that day on Highway 47. The terror, the pain, the feeling of being completely alone and helpless. If someone had told her then that the worst day of her life would lead to this, to love and purpose and a chance to help thousands of others, she wouldn't have believed it. But here she was. Here they all were. A family forged not from blood but from choice. From the decision to help, to care, to never give up. "What are you thinking about?" Vincent asked, seeing the distant look in her eyes. "I'm thinking about second chances. About how much can change in a year. About how grateful I am that you were the one person who said yes. I'm grateful too. For all of it. The good and the bad that led us here." Brianna tugged on both their hands. "Can we get ice cream on the way home? I feel like ice cream." They laughed, the serious moment breaking into something lighter. "Ice cream sounds perfect," Tamara agreed. As they walked out of the hotel into the cool night air, Brianna skipped ahead, her red dress twirling around her. She was happy, healthy, thriving. She was proof that terrible things didn't have to define you. That with help and love and determination, you could overcome anything. Vincent and Tamara walked hand in hand behind her, watching their daughter with matching expressions of love and wonder. "We did good," Tamara said softly. "We're still doing good," Vincent replied. "This is just the beginning." And he was right. In the years that followed, the foundation would continue to grow. Brianna would eventually go to college, study social work, and return to run the foundation herself. Tamara would become a nationally recognized advocate for poverty reduction. Vincent would continue to use his wealth for good, proving that success and compassion weren't opposing forces. But all of that was future. All of that was yet to come. For now, they were just a family going to get ice cream on a beautiful night. A family that had found each other in the aftermath of tragedy and chosen to build something beautiful from the broken pieces. A family that proved beyond any doubt that kindness, hope, and love would always lead the way. That one person saying yes could change everything. That miracles still happened. And that sometimes, when you think all is lost, that's exactly when the light finds you.